All right, I want to welcome everyone to our weekly press briefing hosted by Muskogee Media. As always, each Tuesday at 3 o'clock, Jason Salzman, Muskogee Creek Nation Press Secretary, joins us for a live briefing from the Executive Office. Thank you for joining in, Jason. Thanks for your time. And joining us also is Gary Fife, a radio specialist for Muskogee Media. I want to thank everyone who's been tuning in and following coverage this week. Thanks, Jason. How's it going over there? What's on your plate today?
So thank you, Angel. Thanks for having me as always. Appreciate the time. On our plate today is just rolling out our application processes, for our coronavirus relief fund. Of course, the big big draw, I guess you would say, is the individual and family support section of that. We also have had Muskogee Creek Nation citizen-owned businesses reach out to. Just rolling that out, working out the kinks. It's trial and error. It's a whole new program, quite a bit of demand. As you can imagine, with anything like that, with any of those parameters, you're going to have to, work out a few kinks and things like that. So taking in some feedback, taking in some citizen input, and making sure we're trying to fix some of the glitches that have popped up. A couple of the things that we've gotten worked out so far seems to be running pretty smoothly. We've gotten a little bit, probably less comment traffic, things like that. So that kind of tells me that people are accessing the application and working on it and getting it put in. And we want to thank everybody for doing that. Glad to be able to get some support out to the folks. And any questions on the application process whatsoever, or any, need to send any documents, anything like that, we have a dedicated email line that is COVID support@mcn-nsn.gov. Again, any questions or any documentation that needs to be sent in that you can't upload. We realize that a lot of people out there, not too computer savvy. Some are more than others. So we realize that, and hopefully encouraging folks to help elders fill out their applications. You have a printable application you can print out and you can drop it off, or you can mail it in. Really stressing to mail it in, though, at this time with COVID cases spiking back up. That goes to Human Services, care of Human Services at Muskogee Creek Nation. And that's P.O. Box 580, Okmulgee, Oklahoma, 74447. And just to give you a little bit of an update as well, we do have some cases bumping back up. Just to give you some perspective, in our rates here at the Muskogee Creek Nation Department of Health peaked back in March at 8%. That's our positive infection rate, and dropped to a low of 1.34% in May. This week, for perspective, this last week for perspective, I should say, the positive COVID-19 rate climbed back to 6.34%. Wow. So that's just down from our peak high of 8%. So the principal chief, together with Secretary of Health Sean Terry, really stressing as much as possible, social distancing, masks, hand sanitizer, really, really extreme caution, especially for those folks who have, pre-existing, medical conditions that put them in the at-risk category, and those of our elderly population as well. So a little bit tricky yesterday with a lot of people on the grounds and together. We certainly encourage and love to see civic discourse and civic engagement from our citizens. It was a great thing to see a bunch of citizens together, wanting their voices to be heard and talking with their tribal leadership. We really, really enjoyed the opportunity to go out there and have chief and second chief stand before the people and hear them out, listen to their concerns and everything like that. But also a chance for the chief and second chief to explain what the tribe has to worry about and what the tribe has to consider with this fund. And we know that other tribes have done certain things. We don't answer for those tribes, and we also don't discourage or look down on anything that they're doing. We just know that we have to answer for Muskogee Creek Nation. And so the principal chief and second chief wanted a chance to go out and not only hear the concerns, but also explain some of the things that went into the committee's decisions and some of the things that they worked up. So that's kind of a wrap up of what we've had going on the last few days. And I'll be ready for you to pipe in with any questions that you guys might have whenever you're ready.
Sure. I feel like there was like really an atmosphere of wanting to communicate yesterday. And I think some of that has really been compounded by this separation of people, people being socially distant. You don't feel as connected. You don't feel like you're, as involved. And so it was nice to see the people talking back and forth. It always is a worry though, as these numbers are spiking and stuff like that. And that website that the nation's directing folks to has some options for people who need a mailed out application. If they don't do the internet thing so well, you can request a mailed copy of the applications. And then there is the submit it online version, and all those different directions on there. It's pretty streamlined, I think. I was just kind of browsing through it earlier to kind of understand. One of the first, we got a question already in the chat asking, is there two different applications, one for the $500 and one for the $1,500?
No, there's actually the one is an e-form. They're on there together. If you just go to the website and click on the page, it's got them sort of put up on there, the income support program and the hardship program. Now, the income support program is if you've experienced a job loss or reduction in income due to coronavirus, and that puts it between January 27th, 2020, that's when that starts, or if they receive their primary monthly income under the Social Security Act, or if they receive veterans disability benefits and have not received an award for the same citizen through the MCN coronavirus hardship program. Now, the hardship program is the $500 per household creek. And that is eligible to apply if the household meets the income guidelines listed in the table below and has not received an award for the same citizen from the MCN coronavirus income support program. So basically what we've done is, when I spoke with you before, when we said, let's cast this wide net to where make it easy to qualify, that's what we've done with the hardship program. They're going to, we realize we've had a lot of citizens say, well, this has affected all of us in some way or another. That's sort of the hardship program. With the income support program, you're going to need some more tangible proof, evidence of actual income loss or actual effect in finances. With the hardship program, as you can see, if you go on to the site and you look at the actual application, we have the chart there where they have really increased the federal poverty guidelines limitations. So 400%. So if you're a creek out there and you are just by yourself in your household and you're making less than $51,040, you're going to qualify. If you're you and your spouse and your household income equals 68,960, you're going to qualify. A family of four, 104,000. So if you've ever been through a Creek Nation hardship program, a social services program, you'll realize that these limitations have been massively, in fact, 400% increased. And I think there was some confusion. A lot of people out there have said, oh, 400% below, that's almost impossible. So it's really just kind of looking for yourself and going over the things that we've provided on the site and kind of following every letter, every line, really looking at it for yourself and seeing exactly what's in there, taking the time, really take your time and look through everything we've provided. Again, there's a reason for every single thing that we put on the site. There's a reason for every single line. And it's one of those things where we put that out there so that there is as much information as possible. Now, are there situations and specifics and things like that we really can't put a de facto answer for on all those things? No, but that's why we have the email address to COVID support at mcn-nsn.gov for any of those questions or anything like that.
Let me toss this one out. Particularly before the chief and second chief arrived on scene at the demonstration, many of the comments that we heard from the crowd were quite critical of the government, saying that, this application process was confusing and some said it was useless, that we were all affected equally, and that all these payments should be made to all Creek citizens. It was reminiscent of calling for a per cap, but they said that this situation did not meet their needs, and some of them cited problems they had that did not sound necessarily COVID related. Has the administration got some plan for a response to some of those criticisms?
Yeah, I think the response is that we can't do a per cap. I mean, we spent an hour on this exact briefing last week, kind of outlining that from a top source, a guy that would know federal funding, and with Mr. Chowdhury. So we've done our best to, in lieu of having some blowback on what we're doing with this fund, to facilitate such a payment. And I think that one of the things we're proud of is that we listened to citizen input. We went out there yesterday already, over the weekend, having made a change even before the protest happened, increasing the hardship program amount by $350 per each creek. So, if you have a Creek citizen married to another Creek citizen and they have 3 Creek children, that'll be $2,500, and that's even over the $1,500 economic, the income relief support program. So I think that there's been concessions made to sort of increase and be flexible. And I think you guys know that every time I've come on here talking about this coronavirus relief fund plan, I've really shouted it that this plan was made to be flexible. And I think a lot of people kind of misunderstand or kind of maybe don't listen to that part, where we want this to be flexible, because we don't know a few things. We don't know if the coronavirus is going to flare up again and we're going to need some contingency on the back end of this thing. We want to make sure that we have, for when the fall comes, that we have lots of things ready to go for our children that are in schools, our higher education folks that are in school, and some of the things that they may need. And we're still vetting those processes. We're still vetting some of what we're going to be doing with the Department of Ed and the virtual support program, things like that. As I see Ms. Hope Craig Corlew is asking us on here, those are things that they're still working out as far as the education portion of this. Right now, the priority was to get the relief out. We know beyond a shadow of a doubt that that's what people are most concerned with at this time. And that's what we're most concerned with as well, is getting some relief out as fast as we can to get these application processes rolling. But the committee is still very much at work trying to work out all of those things for the education relief funds and the virtual learning, things like that. I just spoke with Ms. Branson Thomas this morning, and kind of that was her assertion, was that the committee is still looking at the education portions of this and exactly how to vet it and roll it out.
She also, Ms. Corlew, also asks, how do at-large citizens benefit from the Elder Services Program, Direct Assistance, and Nutrition Assistance programs as outlined in that proposed budget?
Okay. What was that again? Sorry.
She asked, how do at-large citizens benefit from the Elder Services Program, Direct Assistance, and Nutrition Assistance program? They
apply just like everyone else. The at-large citizens are that there's no restriction on at-large on this on any of these programs.
And I think that Ms. Barnett is asking about clarification on whether or not it's 500 per household or 500 per citizen.
Yeah, it's 500 per citizen, and the good thing about that is, like a household with Creek children, those Creek children are counted as part of that $500 hardship. We're really glad about that and being able to get that. And that's sort of that wide ranging net to throw out there to make sure that as many people are able to take part in that hardship as possible.
I was going to ask about, of course, the COVID increases that we've been hearing about, in particular, our complex is affected. We've been hearing reports that some departments are actually going back to remote work and things like that. Is that going to be affecting any of those? I know that we had that plan in place and we were all kind of, working from home or working remotely. And for some of us, that was not as easy as others. Is there any kind of return to that essential staff model that was rolled out? Can you kind of update us there?
Yeah, Angel, not at this time. We're just taking extreme caution just because we believe in the Protect Our People initiative that health had worked on for so long to get some things in place that, say weren't in place before COVID hit. And we changed everything and changed the way we did everything going forward from then on. And right then we started implementing how does it look when we get employees back to work. And so I think with those things in place and seeing that we've had a chance to kind of, okay, we've taken the initial punch of COVID, everybody go home. That's something nobody's ever done before at the tribe. So you take that initial punch and you go, okay, let's start seeing what we can do to put things in place to make it so where we can bring people back or we can sort of resume somewhat of normal operations. And I think the Department of Health has done a fantastic job. They were in that room every day for several weeks, putting things in place to where we can. And that includes daily screenings of our employees, enhanced PPE around the complex, as well as daily encouragements of, hand washing, distancing, things like that, partitions in places that weren't there before. So I think that coupled with the fact that, we're just going to be very diligent in reminding folks of those things are a good reason that we, right now anyway, we don't have to send anyone, a mass exodus away from the complex. And it'd be a terrible time for it anyway, with all the things we have that we need all hands on deck. And we've got people from different departments helping process applications, different people from departments answering phones just to try to field questions or anything about the applications and everything like that. And you can imagine the demand for these applications and the demand on the phone lines and really a brand new program that just sprouted out of nowhere. So as I said, just really want to encourage patience amongst the folks. And I know that a lot of people out there, have every right to be one way or another, feel one way or another about things. But just the only thing we can do is ask for patience as we kind of try to roll this out as best as possible for everyone.
Sure. I know that coming back to work in the last few weeks, there's been a lot of preparations just in our department. I imagine that looks very similar amongst the rest of the departments in the complex. We've had plexiglass installed for our receptionist and things like that. People are more kind of, I wouldn't say confined. It's not like we're in little jail cells, but we're consciously kind of keeping more to our own offices. Whereas in the past, we would all be sitting around a round table and talking with you, in that kind of environment. So there's that. So we seem a little bit better equipped to deal with the spike. I was going to ask, how often does health report out the numbers on COVID? And could we kind of help facilitate an awareness by reporting those alongside as the government is recouping them? Would that be something that's beneficial to the Muskogee Creek Nation for us to kind of, filter down a report and say, okay, this is what this week's COVID numbers look like or something like that? Remember to wear your mask kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think that's probably a good idea. I know you guys had ran something kind of daily not too long ago of daily numbers, and that was really good, a good resource. And I would just say, that was as good as anything. But we are getting briefed daily from the Secretary of Health, Sean Terry, with cases and everything like that, and new information. And we can certainly key you into those numbers if you would like.
Yeah, if you just want to shoot me an email, I'll include them. I
Absolutely.
was having to go to the Department of Health for the state and break out each little county and then do my own little math figures, create my own little charts. But we might start jumping back on that since it's seeming like the spike is going to kind of continue that way. I was always looking for, though, this like more Muskogee Creek Indian Health specific number. That seems to be like the trend nationally, is to report those specific, numbers. And I know our health system looks a different way than some health systems, because ours is not specifically just, in some cases we have community hospitals, so it's not just like IHS reporting. So I was kind of curious about those numbers too.
Yeah.
We had a few more questions popping up on the side here. Just see. It says from Hope, it says, is Muskogee Creek Nation willing to provide COVID emergency assistance to each citizen? It sounds like another way to frame the question.
Yeah, it's fine. There's not going to be a blanket payment just sent out to everybody, no matter what, no whether if they asked for it or sought out an application or anything. Like, we just can't do that. There's got to be some kind of tie to COVID related relief, and that's why there is the application process. And again, to answer some of the other questions, elders are open for the applications. Everybody can fill out an application. We encourage everyone out there that needs to fill out an application, please do so, and we will get those processed as quickly as possible and get you some relief out as quickly as possible.
And is my understanding correct? If there's an elder who's not accessing the internet, they can call up the number, get someone to mail them out the paperwork, fill it out with their documentation. If they need to, maybe, I don't know if they have copies available or handy or something, maybe they can have the copies made here at the complex or something like that. And then Dodie Barnett, she asked, can you elaborate on specifically how at-large elders apply for ENP assistance and what they will need if they're approved?
Okay. I think it says, what will they get if they're approved?
Sorry.
The elderly nutrition program assistance. I says ENP. I can only guess that would mean elderly nutrition program. That the elderly nutrition program is just provided here in the 8 county boundaries around. So at large elders, unless one day we do set up elderly nutrition programs all over the United States where our at large citizens are, that would be wonderful. She may be talking about the care packages, I think, that were discussed. And I don't know.
Yeah, she said
to answer that question, I would say, they can just apply like everyone else and be eligible just like everybody else to the different programs. I think elderly nutrition, as I said, I don't think we have any elderly nutrition programs, say, in other states or anything like that. But if there is, I couldn't say whether the tribe is going to do, satellite elderly nutrition program offices or places to eat or anything like that. So, I think that's a great idea. I'd love to be able to get an elderly nutrition program to elderly citizens in other states. I just don't, I don't have the power to say how that actually happens right now. But that could be something that the tribe looks at in the future. Again, the chief and the second chief, they come in January and get maybe 2 months before COVID hits. There's a lot of things as a new chief and a new second chief, you come in and there's a lot of things you want to look at. There's a lot of changes you want to make. There's a lot of new ideas and things you want to implement. And then a worldwide pandemic hits that's never happened before. Again, this isn't an excuse, but at the same time, these guys are going to have time to implement some things. I truly believe that they're going to have time to make some changes, listen to the citizens, get some of these things where people are, disillusioned with at-large citizens are excluded for a lot of things. They hear that, they know that, like to take a look at that. You know what I mean? Right now, holding this thing together as best we can. But those are the things that we definitely, hear, realize, and need to do a better job with our at-large citizens, and we're going to.
Karen Walden is asking that about a change of address kind of situation. She says that her daughter moved to Shawnee from Okemah, hasn't changed an address, so will her check be mailed to the address she puts on the app?
Mm-hmm. We go. Is that's a question in the?
Yeah. It sounds like they're wanting to know if they're going to mail out from an address they have on file or whether they mail out to an address.
It will be the address that she puts on the application. Yes, it will be the address she puts on the application. That way, it's the most updated address for the citizen. Yes.
Okay.
I also see Dodie. Thank you for that suggestion. That's a good suggestion. And I think, here's the thing. There are council members that were on this committee. There were council members on this committee. And so I think if we're talking to council members and everything like that, hey, here's the suggestions. Please take this to committee. If the questions, so the committee gets to a certain point where they say, here's the programs we have. Let's go around the room. Anybody have anything to suggest or anything to pipe in on the way that we've done these programs? Okay, well, you go around the room and nothing is said. You present what you present. Now, and then it goes on a vote before the council. If nothing is said in the committee, but it's voted against in the council, I think at the committee level, that's when somebody needs to pipe up and say something. If there's a disapproval of everything, or if there's a problem or anything like that, that's the time to do it. When the committee was devising the plans and everything like that, not afterwards when it's time to vote on it. So I think that, that the committee was composed with council members for a reason, and that's the tie to citizens. And so you want council members on there that are listening to different citizens. They're talking amongst the rest of the council. You want the council to be informed. And I think, you hear some councilmen or council members say, well, we didn't know about this. Well, your tie to that committee was there with the council members represented on it. So we want to just encourage that to keep on going and see more participation in that process from citizen to council to committee to principal chief, sort of that flow of communication there.
Okay. Let me take a look at our chat again.
Well, while you're doing that, let me throw this one in. Kind of like the mood of the participants there at the demonstration. At one point, we even heard the word recall, and got repeated and shouted several times. Now, of course, the mood of the demonstration did remain civil, but that was kind of a surprise. People who were expressing their dissatisfaction with the administration. Now, does the chief and second chief have some reaction to people feeling that strongly?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. The chief and second chief are definitely, they take it on themselves to go out there and be leaders and be able to listen to the concerns and the response of the citizens. And I think that they wouldn't be human beings if they didn't feel it. They realized what was being said, and they take it upon themselves. And they take it not personally or anything like that, but they take it to heart, and listen and want to be there and to be able to stand in that gap. And I think that they feel like that's why that they were elected to representatives of the citizens and to be able to listen when, through the good times and the tough times as well. So
I had some questions about our recent cabinet confirmations. I just kind of wanted to update everybody that there were some passed through council. There were a few that did not pass through council. And then we've seen that the executive branch issued a commission of officers for Beverly Snow for Secretary of Housing, Tribal Administrator for as Gregory Anderson, and I'm looking for my other ones. Debbie Hefner, was Secretary of Housing. Am I getting my executive officers confused here? Because I have two.
Okay, give it to me one more time again. I'm sorry.
Okay, I have Beverly Snow as Secretary of Housing, and then Greg Anderson as Tribal Administrator.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think just a day before I had Debbie Hefner as Housing. So I'm kind of confused on who is Secretary of Housing right now.
Okay, so Beverly.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And is that confirmation?
The first one you said, that just the latest one that came out. Yes.
Okay. Is that like the confirmation, or is that like a nomination?
No, that's just an acting.
Okay.
That's just an acting. Yes, because as I said, some of them were not confirmed that Chief put up before confirmation. Sure. So we got to do something in the meantime, and that's what that was for.
And then for Light Horse Police Chief Daniel Wind, and then Secretary of Community and Human Resources Sean Partridge. Those are acting as well.
Yes, ma'am.
And the next step in the process will be that Chief will send the nomination up through council for those ones that didn't pass. Is that the process?
Yeah. Well, the Chief will make, further in place of those that didn't get confirmation. Okay. He will put up other folks for confirmation. Yes.
Okay. And I think that's about all of the questions I had. This week, are you guys over there waiting, watching for McGirt? Because I know we're waiting and watching.
Oh yeah,
like, this is a
absolutely.
firestorm kind of week. I feel like it's the most Friday-est Tuesday I've ever experienced in my life. But
it's not easy, but that's part of things sometimes. Like I said, good and bad times. You just got to roll with the punches and do the best you can. And we're trying to do the best we can. And also, as you said, in the midst of it all, McGirt possibly. And so maybe Thursday, it's one of those things where we'll just keep an eye on it, and it'd be a big decision for Muskogee Creek Nation and Indian Country. So be looking for that.
Yeah, I'm definitely got my eyes peeled and checking all kinds of websites like every morning, just trying to figure out where I'm at.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there anything else I'm missing this week? Was there anything we need to add? I'm going to check my Facebook questions real quick, just to make sure I haven't left anyone out.
While you're checking that, let me add this one. We saw a pretty good presence of Light Horse there surrounding this event. And all the relations I saw were pretty cordial, respectful. We did hear, though, that one person had sent an email saying that they had seen rifles and other weapons out there. Was there any discussion among the cabinet members about how far the Light Horse may go if they were pressed into service there?
We didn't even consider any hostility. We know our people a little bit better than that. I think there was Light Horse presence, just because any large group like that where there are emotions that run a little high, that can happen. But we never seen any rifle, and I think Light Horse was kind of debunking that as well. So Light Horse, of course, has handguns that they carry as part of their job duties. And look, a lot of those Light Horse police department are Creek citizens themselves, and if they're not, they're putting their life on the line and putting it out there for Creek citizens every day. So we definitely never want to say, why is the Light Horse here or anything like that. I mean, with a big crowd, you want to have at least some sort of security presence, but they were kind of off away and just kind of there in case anything. But there was no rifles or anything like that. Again, I know how things happen, and so you can be said, and it kind of gains a little legs and things like that. So not being critical of that report, but at the same time, that wasn't true.
Doty's asking about the IT forensic report and wondering when it will be published.
Yeah, we're ready to go on that, Angel. I think you have a story that you're going to be publishing. So we're ready to go on that, and glad to report that there was no data breach and there was really no information stolen, anything like that. Just ready for that to be reported. And the executive report had gone to the council, wanted the council to see it first. And so that'll come out in the newspaper, I guess, whenever you're ready to publish.
Yeah, I have reviewed the report and taken some notes, and I was kind of waiting for fact-finding committee to see what they were going to come out with. So I'm still kind of unclear on their process, and if they're even done with their process or not. So I'm going to be checking with those and publishing very soon. I'm going to be writing from the notes I've taken from the document. I don't have the actual document right now at this time, but that's something I'm kind of working on, and whether or not, can I give a date it will be published. My publishing date depends on availability of document and when that fact-finding committee's, I'm not clear yet. I'm trying to understand the process for fact-finding committee because it's not a meeting that I get to attend. So if anybody can let me know if they're done with their process so that I can report that into this story as well, I will happily be on that as my next project. So that's one of those big comprehensive topics that I'm working on, one of the story. So I need documentation, and I need the report from fact finding if it's available, if that's a public thing. I'm not sure. I think I have some research to do on that area. I'm not 100% on fact finding committees processes and what they do after they have a fact finding the actual report. She's talking, she's saying she means the actual report. So that's something I'm working on, and I will be able to get back with you as soon as I have a dead set answer on that, Dodie, and I'll be happy to jump on that one and get that one published too. Last week I did get to go and review a little bit, and from what I could see, there was a lot of technical things that I'm going to be working out with a company that does these kind of investigations to help me learn the jargon, and maybe even get their third party kind of comments as like an independent, individual in this. Because I think that one of the journalistic ethics that really says that, you talk to the person, you talk to the professionals, and then you report on the process that you went through. So that's what I'm going to be working on here in the next week or so after I build the paper tomorrow.
Well, thank you so much, Angel. Appreciate that. And yeah, looking forward to it. I know that you did extensive coverage of it, so looking forward to that.
I feel like it's been a long drawn out one that I've been kind of just waiting for a report, waiting for this, or waiting for a process of our government. I don't want to be intruding where I'm not supposed to be, but I also want to always kind of toe the line and push what's public to be more public. So I want to thank you for showing up today. Thanks, Gary. Thanks for good questions. Thanks for answering the hardest ones. And thanks, guys, for coming on to chat and giving us plenty of good questions to ask. If anyone else has any,
I just wanted to thank everyone, you, Gary, Jared, everybody for facilitating this. Excuse me, Jacqueline Rowland, Hope Corlew, Dodie Barnett. Let me go through here, make sure I don't miss any, but Carrie Walden. And I think that's it. T.Y. Prohl, as always, a loyal viewer there of the briefing. I want to thank everybody for engaging. Whether we agree or disagree, I think this is great. This is transparent government and having a conversation. We want to keep it up. We want to make sure that we're providing you everything you need, and I want to thank everybody out there for taking part in it. It's a really great thing.
All right. Thanks, guys, and have a good rest of the week.
You bet. Thank you all.